Wanted to make a video about powerlifting and bodybuilding and kind of share my viewpoints of kind of how I view things when it comes to building strength. I'm a big believer in specificity. It's sort of how I learn the best, and the truth is, like, I'm sort of the kind of person that likes to focus on one thing. One type of thing. I'm very meticulous with certain things. I'm thinking about hand placement on the bar. I'm thinking about when I hold my breath or when I take my breath in to create pressure on my belt. What belt I'm wearing, where I'm wearing my belt, what shoes I'm wearing, if I'm wearing socks, what bar I'm using. I mean, all these things. If I'm using the regular plates at the gym or if I'm using the bumper plates at the gym, because the bumper plates are more accurate, whereas the cheaper non-bumper plates are less accurate, tend to be about a little bit heavier typically, and sometimes lighter on some occasions, but rarely lighter. And all these thoughts go through my head when I train, and because I have these things going through my head, I think about all these techniques and stuff. I like to spend all my time doing one thing. And in the case of powerlifting, being very specific and just building strength for a single repetition, I like to see things as just working on the lift, squatting exactly the way you're going to squat. Don't work on anything else. Some people may agree or disagree with this sort of the methodology with how to train, methodology to train, but the truth is, it's sort of like, that's my joint. That's probably not the best way of doing things, but for where I'm at, it seems to be working good enough, and it's sort of my interest. Well, I should say it used to work. I'm running into a lot of problems, and this is kind of what this video is about. It's sort of like kind of how I view bodybuilding and powerlifting and how they come together, and kind of why I'm going to be stepping a little bit away from powerlifting. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be doing the powerlifting movements. It just means that the specificity of doing singles, doubles, and triples is going to go away from my training for a little while for lots of different reasons. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But one of the things that's going to kind of let me move away from powerlifting in a sense of very low reps is going into bodybuilding or more bodybuilding type movements, is because variety does help build strength. It builds a kind of non-specific strength, and more importantly, it helps you build muscles that are required to have a stable base of strength. And I guess what, maybe not stable base, but make it so that you're injury proof or you're less likely to get hurt. Because one of the biggest issues with powerlifting, they specialized sport like that, is a lot of pattern overload, and when you do an overloaded pattern, it's going to give you problems. One example would be a deadlift and doing an over-under grip, and I always underhanded grip on my right hand, overhanded grip on my left hand, and it's definitely causing some issues, some imbalances that's occurring, maybe not over the course of a month, but over the course of the last year. It's definitely showing up in different muscular tightness, different setups in my body. So that's kind of why I started training with straps a little bit. But the other problem I'm starting to run into is my elbow. Elbows are really bothering me, and they're making it so that I can't train as hard as I want. So my knee's bothering me and my elbow's bothering me. So when I'm doing a squat, it's sort of like I'm getting underneath the bar, and like, it used to be my knee I'm worried about, and now my elbow just hurts too fucking much. So it's sort of like this thing where if you do powerlifting and you're trying to just improve your one repetition max and get really strong, you're going to get the most out of your training in doing the main lift and doing lots of them, whether it be low reps or high reps, but just doing the movement. Because I really believe in finding the right position where you get the most amount of leverage, where you get the best stretch reflex, where you feel the most comfortable with your own personal flexibilities, where the bar sits on your back. All these things are in consideration. I track a lot of these things when I train. I definitely have a lot of mental thoughts of kind of where my foot placement is, what rack I use. I mean, all these things go through my head when I train for powerlifting, or specifically bench and deadlift, because I'm fairly proficient in my head for those things, whereas the squat is kind of like very inconsistent as far as where I put things because of issues I have with my elbow and shoulders. So going back to kind of what I meant about bodybuilding, is that bodybuilding allows you to kind of help build weak areas of your body, and that doesn't necessarily means for like sticking points, but more so for just balance in your body, so that way you become more injury proof. For example, stuff that I've gotten away from that's probably contributing to my elbow issues is not doing bicep curls, not doing bent over rows, not doing pull-ups, not doing all these things that I used to do on a regular basis that I no longer do, because I've gotten away from general stuff and gotten to a lot of specific things. And I think that if you spend the time doing a lot of the bodybuilding movements, like the back day, back and shoulders, chest and arms, or whatever, leg day, push pull, and get I think I know for a fact those things help really build a base of strength and muscle. For those of you that are doing lots of the stuff that I'm doing or something similar where you're very specific to powerlifting, I think you'll benefit from doing the bodybuilding stuff more. But I think it just depends on where you're at. I'm really speaking for myself, but I'm just saying, like, this kind of reminds me of the cube method, because the cube method has this day where you do bodybuilding, and it has 3 days where you focus on the main lift. You have a squat day, bench day, and a deadlift day, and then you have a bodybuilding day. And as much as I like the cube method and I like the philosophy of it, which I'm kind of following the philosophy of the cube method, my main thing really is I need to do something that I really enjoy, that I have fun doing. Because even though the best program out there that may be the best for me based on my kind of preferences, or based on kind of like my weaknesses and issues, could be good for me, I don't want to do it because it's not fun, or it's not something that I enjoy. And I think that's what the biggest problem is when it comes to training and for considerations. When people like talk shit on YouTube about kind of the best programs out there, and really what it comes down to is something you do on a consistent basis, because one training session isn't really going to do shit if you really think about it. 3 training sessions is not going to do shit. A month of training is going to have an impact on your results, but it's going to be minuscule into the whole picture of your overall strength muscle gain. It's an entire process. And keeping this into consideration is that you have to realize that it's just a small piece of the puzzle. It's gonna, all these little, and they're small pieces. And if you have a bunch of fucked up pieces, you're gonna have a fucked up picture. But if you have good, so over time, what I'm trying to say is that you're gonna have some fucked up pieces, you're gonna have some good pieces, you're gonna have some okay pieces, you're gonna have some amazing pieces, and it's gonna build this picture. And think about having bad form, cheating your technique, kind of doing more than you should, pushing yourself harder than you should, harder than you can recover from, not sleeping enough, stuff like that. What's going to end up happening is going to make it so that your picture is just totally fucked up, and you're basically going to have to start from scratch. And when I say start from scratch, that means literally reset everything. And why do you have to reset? Because you're making progress, but you're fucked up. Like me, I'm fucked up. The only thing that's not fucked up with me is really my deadlift, but my bench and my squat are affected because of my elbow. There's a big factor, whereas the deadlift is virtually unaffected. I only took a week off of training because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't the deadlift that was contributing to my elbow. Maybe gripping the bar was wearing out the tendons in my forearm that was causing this golfer's elbow. But I'm still trying to figure it out, and as I get more information, I actually have some videos I'm going to post on it soon. I thought I'd share that. So anyways, just some thoughts. I'd like to hear your comments, and I'd like to hear your suggestions. Also like to just start a discussion. Thanks for watching.